Greetings, this your brother teacher Ajamu Minka Kafele. My fight for justice is worth dying for. My fight for justice in the name and will of Allah is worth dying for. Back at you again with a powerful video for your elevation and enlightenment. And we're going to talk about UFOs, the truth and the prophecy of UFOs, things we need to know. It was August 28th, 2016, 8:05 p.m. approximately. It was dusk and I saw a UFO here in Columbus, Ohio. And three distinctive, huge bright lights in the sky that eventually gravitated up into the clouds to make it clear that it was a UFO. And personally, I wasn't frightened. I was actually trying to just figure out what is these bright lights in the sky as far as they go. And we know that many people have seen UFOs, but our biggest challenge that we have is that we're battling against what we may have seen that a lot of people won't speak to versus what the media has tried to make us think about UFOs and aliens and things of that nature. And so I wanted to be able to share it. I wanted to do this introduction outside just in honor of me seeing a UFO, seeing what I think was the mothership, as I was actually spiritually told, and to bring you some enlightenment. So I don't want to be long in this respect, but in this introduction, what I want to be able to do is acknowledge that, yes, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have seen UFOs, you have seen UFOs, okay, or you've seen the wheel, as it's called in Ezekiel, as Elijah Muhammad talked about. He was the first one to bring us not only a knowledge, but a knowledge and understanding of this will. And I want to help bring some of this enlightenment to you with some of the actual documented truth of encounters to get rid of this misunderstanding of so-called aliens. And again, it's not to say that there aren't some beings from a different planet or something like that. If the U.S. is sending things up to Mars or wherever, then certainly people could be sending things over here to U.S. But for the most part, what you're going to see here in this video is that it's not what has been projected onto us by the media, and our fear should be caution. I want to read something to you. Elijah Muhammad had a whole discourse on the mother plane. This was a little booklet somebody put together, but you can actually get all kinds of information on the mother plane just on YouTube, Final Call, articles. The information is out there. One of the best sources I like in the book I highly recommend is The Theology of Time. But let me just read some out to you to introduce as we go into this video, introduce to you and go into this video to give an understanding. Because what you'll see is that if you begin to study and look at the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, that he brought us a truth that is undeniable, invincible, and it's coming to pass. It may be decades later, but things are coming to pass. And we want to acknowledge this and prepare ourselves and move ourselves in the right path. And so in this book where he's talking about Ezekiel, he made a notion talking about Ezekiel seeing the wheel, and that's in the Bible. So certainly you guys can look that up. The vision of Ezekiel. Ezekiel saw great work going on in the wheel and four living creatures. And their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel, Ezekiel 1:16. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went with them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up, Ezekiel 1:19. The power of lifting up the four creatures was in the wheel. The four creatures represent the four colors of the original people of the earth. He goes on to say that the will is the power of four creatures, namely the four colors of the black man: black, brown, yellow, and red. The red Indian is to benefit also from the judgment of the world. He makes a note in here to say we must remember that God comes to separate from the righteous that which is hindering the righteous from making progress, and to destroy the effect of the poison of that which has opposed the righteous. The effect of the poison will be fully destroyed after the destruction of the source of the poison, which has poisoned the righteous. So those of us who are righteous and seeking to be righteous in pursuit of righteous, we know that certainly this nation, the USA, does all they can to poison us or to keep us away, to distract us from being in pursuit of righteousness. And in closing out what he says here, again, I encourage you to read and study what he said there. But this is a foundation for what we're going to be covering here in this video. And he states, Allah God, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, taught me that the mother plane is a little human-made planet. Let me repeat that. He said a little human-made planet. The mother plane is capable of staying out of the Earth's gravity for a whole year. She is capable of producing her own sphere of oxygen and hydrogen as any other planet is able to do. The mother plane carries the same type of bomb on her that our black scientists dropped on the planet Earth to bring up the mountains out of the earth after the planet Earth was created. In closing out, he states, there are scientists on the mother plane who know what you are thinking about before the thought materializes. Therefore, it is impossible to try to attack the mother plane. She can attack you, but you cannot attack her. And so what we're going to explore here is actual encounters of who or what is truly on these wheels, these UFOs. Are they actually a danger to us or an aid to us, the righteous and would be righteous? And then we're going to look at the prophecy that comes out of the Bible of the battle in the sky, which is an excerpt from an old video I did. This is your brother, teacher Ajamu. I thank you for taking the time to listen and tune in. Let's move forward and get enlightened. Okay, so we turn our attention to the revised edition of the Book of God. We're going to talk about some excerpts from this book in the section on flying saucers. Again, this is a book that I highly, highly recommend all of you get to elevate your knowledge and truth and understanding of God. And I'll be discussing this book in more detail in the future videos starting next week. We're going to look at this section here on UFOs because we're focused on who is in the UFOs. All right. But first, understand that this has been a most highly classified subject in the United States government, I guess, prior to the official announcement of Trump saying that, hey, there are UFOs out there. But in 1947, OK, the FBI Army Intelligence Report stated that this flying saucer situation is not all imaginary or seeing something too much in some natural phenomenon. Something is really flying around. So on September 23rd, 1947, Lieutenant General Nathan Twining, Commanding General of our Air Material Command, sent a secret memo to Brigadier General George Schoolagen, Chief of the Air Intelligence Requirements Division of the Pentagon. The memo was in response to a request from Air Intelligence concerning flying disc. Now, this memo goes on to state the phenomenon reported is something real and not visionary or fictitious. There are objects probably approximately the shape of a disc
of such appreciable size as to appear to be as large as man-made aircraft, the reported operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb, maneuverability, particularly in roll, and action, which must be considered evasive when sighted or contacted by friendly aircraft and radar, lend belief to the possibility that some of the objects are controlled either manually, automatically, or remotely. So they're saying, basically, there's somebody on these aircrafts, right? There's somebody on these wheels, as Ezekiel put it. Now, so as we look at who's on these wheels, let's turn to actual documented events that he has identified in the book. He titles this subject, Aliens or Asiatics. You should know the term Asiatic black man. The most reliable close encounter reports confirm that the pilots of these crafts are not aliens, emissaries from other planets. They are human beings, scientists. So it simply means someone who is supreme in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding actual facts. They are human beings and scientists who were supremely advanced in aviation and warfare. Papua New Guinea in June, July, and August 1959, the observers were William B. Gill, an Anglican priest in charge of the mission, Boyanai, Papua, and 30 others, 6 teachers, and the remainders were children. The report issued by them from that first sighting in June 26, a large UFO was first sighted by Annie Laurie at 6 p.m. The sun had set. It was quite light for the following 15 minutes, so they could clearly see is the point. We watched as figures appear on the top, 4 of them. I had no doubt that they were humans. So they weren't shot. They're like, wow, these are humans. They're not seeing something crazy. It was possibly the same object that I took to be the mother ship last night. The 2 smaller UFOs were seen at the same time stationary. We have a close encounter here where they're saying, hey, I saw humans on this thing. OK, I didn't see some crazy spooky thing like they have in the movies. We got humans on these UFOs is the point. Let's go further. They go on to state, believe it or not, mission boys and I exchanged hand signals with the occupants of the mothership a little after 6 p.m. There is no doubt that she is occupied by at least 4 men. They're like, dude, we're waving because we see someone who looks familiar to us. That's why you would be waving, right? Here you see what was a sketch of the drawing that obviously somebody drew of what they saw. So that's a case of seeing actual human beings on these UFOs or the wheel. Let's go on to another encounter. Another close encounter. We're talking about actual experiences of people who have seen the beings on the UFO. Okay, not the movies, not some mystery. Another close encounter experienced by a group occurred on the night of July 4th, 1978 in Mount Etna, Sicily. I'm not going to get into their names, but 2 Italian Air Force sergeants and 1 Italian Navy officer were off duty the night when they noticed a triangle of 3 red lights pulsating in the sky above them at a distance. One of the lights suddenly separated from the others and approached the group. It disappeared, however, behind a nearby slope. So curiosity kicked in. These guys drove where the lights had landed to investigate a little bit further. You know, they big bad military, you know. As they looked over the edge, they saw a saucer-shaped object about 40 feet across with a brilliant yellow illuminated dome. And they go on to state, they saw by the side of the craft were 5 or 6 very tall beings with black overall tight-fitting suits. Their features were human and beautiful. Look, not only, again, could they obviously clearly see that they human, looking like humans, so not shocking them, but they're describing them as beautiful. Like, in other words, you know, in the movies when they got you seeing all these alien and ugly creatures and things like that, that's not what's there. Human and beautiful. Isn't that a wonderful thing? However, this last case is the most impressive, Dr. Wesley Muhammad states. It occurred in October 1973 in Faultville, Alabama. All right. And this is probably the one they really don't want you to know about. The police chief and only policeman of the small town was Jeff Greenhall. And he was a well-respected man in this town prior to October 17th encounter. So he got this call. He goes out there. He says about 2 miles outside of town, a man with a metallic suit about 6 feet in height was standing in the middle of the road. Greenhall got out of his car and said, "Howdy, stranger." But the man refused to respond. The police chief then proceeded to take 4 pictures of the man. After getting back into his car and turning on his police lights, the man started running. He keeps saying, "A man, a man, a man, a man, a man." He said, "Howdy, stranger." Again, he's not seeing something frightening. He's not seeing something that is literally scaring him to death. He's seeing something that makes him feel comfortable in approaching. Same thing with all of the other people. We don't have some strange beings on these UFOs is the point that we're seeing here. And here's a picture that certainly doesn't do justice from a Polaroid he took, because he took Polaroid pictures. But nonetheless, the point in this Polaroid, especially clearer in the book, is that the silhouette of it is a structure of a man. Okay. The unidentified man starts to run. So he states, "I jumped into my car and took off after him, but couldn't catch up with him in a patrol car. He was running faster than any human I ever saw. Any human I ever saw." This man is not seeing some strange being. He's not even describing it as such. He goes on to state his car reached speeds of 30 to 40 miles per hour before it spun out on the gravel road. One is reminded of the statement of Elijah Muhammad. "One of our brothers from Asia came to Detroit and outran a car by 20 miles. And it goes on to note in here, which is important, which is why I think a lot of people don't talk about UFOs, or certainly didn't before, is that Greenhall, who was a well-respected man, later, basically his life was completely destroyed. Unfortunately, Greenhall suffered much from reporting this incident to NBC TV. So again, they have this information. Okay. He received threatening phone calls, had his mobile home burned down, his car engine blew, his wife left him. He was asked to resign from his job, all within 2 weeks of the incident. So, ladies and gentlemen, the point here is that the UFOs do exist, as many of you certainly do know. But what I want to bring to light is that these are not, as Elijah Muhammad taught, these are not some spooky beings, some, I don't know, alien, like literally the movie Alien. Okay. And this is not to say there aren't other beings in ships that are coming. I mean, if you have the USA going out to Moon and Mars, sending craft out there, what is us to think that other beings can't make their way into the Earth's atmosphere? Okay. But the reality is, when these mother ships, and when you study what Elijah Muhammad was taught on them, is that these are human beings, highly scientists, as he stated, are on these mother ships, and they have a knowledge and understanding that is prior to the coming of the white man, that was created to cause destruction of this world. They're here for the righteous is the point. And so you should probably work on getting righteous. That's the point. They're here for the righteous. It's the battle in the skies we're going to talk about here in a second is not going to be a pretty thing, and you should take caution and refuge in Allah in that respect. But the reality of what is about to hit us is that we're about to see a lot of UFOs in the sky, very similar to the way we see airplanes. And I want to bring this to your attention, and you to be able to take that knowledge, grow with it, and understand the times that we're in, and not to be frightened, but hopefully use this to realize let me turn to the pursuit of righteousness. Let me turn to self-accountability to get myself straight, because those of higher knowledge, power, and force are on the scene today. Things are happening fast since Trump became president, and getting Trump out as president isn't going to change the fall of wicked America. So now at this point, I want to turn more to the prophecy side. This is an excerpt from a video I did called Why They Love Columbus. You can look up the full video on Facebook and YouTube, on my Brother Teacher page, on my YouTube channel, Brother Teacher Speaks. There's 3 parts to it. This is the 3rd part where I'm talking about the prophecy in the battle in the sky, because it's time for us to understand that prophecy has met reality, and we need to come into that knowledge, and more importantly, come into that understanding. So here's that video. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and wish you all the best. Let's move into phase 3. Phase 3, Satan devil man is destroyed by God from the sky in the final battle. Revelations 28, verse 8 starts out, and we go out and we'll go out talking about Satan. We'll go out and deceive the nations to gather them together to battle. So it says here that they went up on the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints in the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. So when you do studies of the Bible, they like to say that, well, this is talking about armies are going to gather around Israel, and that's going to be the final battle. And that's when, you know, again, dealing in deception from them. If you look at this, you can really see the truth in it, that there's no way possible that it could be the Israel that they made up, because there's nowhere in the actual facts of history is there any solid, clear, convincing evidence that Israel even existed. And we know that the modern Israel was something that the Zionists put together themselves, right? That's just actual facts of history. Like, it doesn't exist, right? But even if they said it's Israel, the problem is it says that they went up on the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints. What saints are in Israel? The Zionists are the saints? The Zionists that are at war with the Muslim Palestinians? Okay, again, the Islam versus Judeo-Christianity, okay? Because the U.S. is tied into that, right? So is that the camp of the saints? I don't think so. Okay. But more importantly, it says he went up on the breadth of the earth, where the earth is round or oblong. And so breadth means you go to the length of it. How do you go to the length unless you start in the middle, right? So we're not starting in the middle. They're on the outside of the earth. So in order to go to the breadth of the earth, it means that you have to go up into the sky, right? You have to go up into the sky, into the orbiting force and power that keeps the earth in its orbit. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what they have done. Are you familiar with the International Space Station that goes around the orbit of the earth? I think every 90 minutes or something. But did you know that it was 16 nations that came together that are involved with the space station? And what did the Revelation say? We're talking about history meeting prophecy, the battle of good versus evil. And it said that they went forth and gathered the nations for war. Let's go back. It said to gather them together to battle. The International Space Station, 16 countries involved: Belgium, Netherlands, Brazil, Norway, Canada, Russia, Denmark, Spain, France, Sweden, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, United Kingdom, Japan, and of course the United States. Who are you battling then? Africa? Were you over there colonizing and controlling that? Who are you battling? Oh, you're looking for the space beings, the UFOs. You're preparing for the battle in the sky. They finally, under Trump, admitted formally there are UFOs.
They admitted that we have been involved, the Pentagon has been involved in a secret mission investigating UFOs. How long has it been going on? Dr. Wesley, in his book, the revised edition of the Book of God, documented how since the 1947s, they have been, since 1947, they've been aware of these UFOs, have been documented, following them, fighting and battling with them, dying, fighting them, etc. Documented all of that. You should pick up the Book of God for a lot of reasons to learn the truth and document the history of God. But he really broke that down, that this battle in the sky is something serious and it's something they've been involved with. And now you see where history meets prophecy, because they have come together, put together a space station. Then Trump comes out and says, we've got to have a space force. Now, he doesn't invent anything on his own. So now was the time that they felt that they could publicly say the Space Force, publicly announce the UFOs, so they can begin to pull money in for these things, okay, as AI is ready. And so National Enquirer, with all their beautiful flamboyantness, came out with a beautiful cover and talked about top secret weapon systems. Top secret weapon systems against who? Can't be against each other, because the 16 of them are all involved. Life on Mars. We need somewhere to go. We think the Earth is going to be gone, or at least America, right? We need somewhere to go. Maybe we can get on Mars. Let's go out to Orion. Let's see what's in these other constellations. And then the artificial intelligent robots. You remember the movie I, Robot. You remember the movie Minority Report. Robots on the street. Computerized systems. Yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, can I share something with you? You're going to have these robots and so forth on the street, but the main purpose for them is to be an army and battling what they call the UFOs. They call it UFOs. History called it the wheel. Elijah Muhammad, people thought he was out of his mind. People thought he didn't know what he was talking about when he revealed what Master Farad Muhammad, Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, revealed to him. Elijah Muhammad had like a third grade education. He didn't know nothing but what Allah taught him in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And we see now every day that his teachings and the truism of them are not only, they're not being speculated anymore. They're not guesses. They're not some blind faith. They're actually documented. And I'm documenting some right here for you. The truism of what he taught. And so he stated in an article that was in the final call, or which was actually from the Message to the Black Man. Today he has left, talking about the white man, he has left the surface for the sky to destroy his enemies by dropping and exploding bombs on each other. All this was well known in the days of Ezekiel. God revealed it to him that through Ezekiel we might know what to expect at the end of this world. That's what I'm trying to get across to you, ladies and gentlemen, that Christopher Columbus and the history meets prophecy, that we are at the back end of that we're in phase 3. Today we see the white race preparing for the sky in the battle, Elijah says, to determine who shall remain and rule this earth, black or white. Black or white is representation of Islam versus Christianity. Black or white is representation of righteous versus unrighteous. Because again, Elijah said, he said that some white people will be saved. It ain't for you to try to figure out which one, like the one you dating, the one you in love with, whether it's your parent, all of that situation. I know it's touchy. It may be hurtful, but we dealing with truth, and God, you can't bring your feelings to a factual discussion. He goes on and states here, throughout the Bible and Holy Quran teachings on the judgment and destruction of the enemies, fire will be used as the last weapon. We just showed you that verse in Revelations that talked about fire being used in the final battle. The earth's greatest arms are fire and water. The whole of its atmosphere is made up of fire and water and gases. Ladies and gentlemen, the UFOs are real. The final battle to come is near, is real. They have been preparing for it. Ladies and gentlemen, the question really becomes, what do you do in preparation? You have to understand the deception that exists in all areas of our lives and activity that was really handed down from the doctrine of the Christianity they fashioned using the name of Isa to be able to get through to you, because you have to mix truth with falsehood to get to the people. You have to come as a sheep in wolf clothing. You can't just show up as a wolf. You can't just show up as Satan. That is what's been done. Okay? They even perverted Islam. This is actual facts. Sorry, some of the other Muslims that are out there, but the history is that the Aryan Persians, you know them as Iranians, okay, because Iranians don't consider themselves Arabs at all, okay, that they came in and changed some of the scholarship of Islam that was taught by Prophet Muhammad. So they perverted it. They gave you a spook God in that change, okay? It gave you some of the missed ways that they treat women. You even got some of these so-called Muslims that'll sleep with other boys and men. That's not true Islam. This I call it Arabism Islam, okay? So don't be confused about that. And when they say, well, Elijah Muhammad doesn't teach true Islam, no, what they got over there isn't the truth. Some people think that the white man's going to live forever, that his reign is going to be forever. That's not supported in history of fallen nations after fallen nations, okay? And it's not supported in the prophecy, as we just showed. And they're preparing for the battle. You don't know nothing about the space station. You don't know nothing about what they're really doing out there. You didn't know all of the details of these UFOs. They told you it was spooky men. What do we need to do, ladies and gentlemen? We've got to get our act together. As I like to say, be righteous, discipline up, eat to live. It talks to us and says, and some truth is in the Bible, therefore come out from among them and be separated, says the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6:18. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, unless you receive of her plagues, for her sins have reached to heaven, the breadth of the earth. Okay, and God has remembered her iniquities. And she will be destroyed. The unrighteous shall be destroyed. Don't be amongst the unrighteous. Get righteous. Get after truth. Study the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Study the knowledge, history of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the time and now that we live in, that we are in that third phase, and it's moving fast because Space Force is here. The acknowledgement of UFOs is here. It's just a matter of time when will be the battle in the sky, and who and what will be of you in the time of this judgment and separation of the righteous and unrighteous. Separation doesn't mean that you have to get a separate land. Separation starts by yourself. Right now, we couldn't take the average black person and put them in a separate land, because they would bring nothing but the Negroism that has been handed down through Christian doctrine and racism, white supremacy. So you have to start to change yourself. You have to start to discipline yourself up. You have to start to eat better, live better, do better. Not focus on your feelings, but focus on what is right to do. This is how you begin to separate and begin to teach that to your children. This is how you begin to come out of her. This is how you begin to not be a victim of her plagues. This is how you begin to make change, ladies and gentlemen. They love Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus is the representation of them being free to go out and deceive the world and see how many of us they could get. They will never let that go. But in the end, Allah, God, Supreme Being, will prevail. Which side will you be on? This is your brother teacher, Ajamu Minkakafele. I thank you for taking the time to review this video. I hope it has helped you in your education and edification in pursuit of truth, just, and right. As always, I love you if you're righteous. Can't stand you if you ain't. Go forth, be righteous. Until the next time, talk to you soon.